got it going. With the spin of the wheel, we'll cover our fate and stream it to you all in one take. We tend to be loud and we fight quite a bit, but it's an unscripted show, so you get what you get. If we stopped it right now and we just walked away, we'd be back here next week, cause we just can't wait to play.
Whoa, what's crack-a-lackin', baby? It's your good buddy, your good pal, Amigo Aaron, joined by everyone's favorite hillbilly. It's the BRENT. What up, people? Woo, raise the roof, raise the roof. We're back in black on ARG Presents. And this week, as requested by the wheel, we bring you ports that were better than the original game. A tantalizing topic indeed, the BRENT.
Yes.
Because that rarely happens. Having played about a zillion ports in my lifetime, I can safely say that almost every port is not as good as the original game. But every once in a blue moon, a port comes along that surpasses what was done in the arcade or on the original system that it appeared on. When you were searching around for a game for this topic, did anything spring forth?
Well, I notoriously hate ports.
That's true. You
I
hate
hate
them worse
them.
than anybody.
But I do like when someone takes the original and ports it and makes it better.
Yeah.
So I was locked in as soon as I saw the wheel piece go on the wheel.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to say, but Brent, this is the battle chest to the funny games, but in port form. And I'll say, wrong.
You know, I don't want to sidetrack the show.
Already, huh?
Yeah, but I'm looking at the screen here. We got a screen in front of us here. And I look over here. It looks like, Brent, with your hair down, it's like one of the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. And Cher had a child. And here you are. I mean, really, Cher was married to Greg Almond. And I think that somehow, out of wedlock, you were born. And here, if you're not watching at home, he's a bearded man with hair down to his navel. What a freak of nature you are, bro. Why are you wearing the hair down today?
Well, I'm the remake, man.
Yeah.
Yo, dog.
Uh-huh. Trust me, if you were Rapunzel, you'd be staying up in the tower, brother. Ain't nobody gonna grab hold of those nasty locks and get you.
This is the port of Brent.
Oh, boy, well. Yeah, clearly, the port did not improve on the original. So, I looked over the landscape of gaming when I made my selection this week, and I wanted to pick something that came from the arcade, a true port, an arcade port.
Right.
Now, arcade ports that surpass the arcade are important in 2025 because you can play every arcade game at home. And so if you can find some that were better or were brought home that were more robust than they were in the arcade, then you got something.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that came into my mind were like fighting games, right? A lot of fighting games had really good ports that came home, but the home version got additional characters. Maybe they got additional stages. Can you name me right off the top of your head that I mean, I could think like Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
X-Men versus Street Fighter on the Saturn.
Oh, what did you get in that?
You got a joke character in the form of a he was a comedian, but he looks like a school teacher.
Oh, yes, I remember that guy. He was in the Japanese only version, right? Yeah, I do remember him. So that is one
Great game.
Another one that comes, you know, we often, being an Amigo myself, we often talk about.
You're an Amigo?
That's right, Amigo. I said, and much like Bo, we often lament the arcade version of Outrun.
You could have just ended your sentence there.
Yeah. But Outrun, when it sort of got souped up over the years, you could get games. This is another way you could exceed or excel from the arcade, is a higher definition version or a widescreen version. Those are all things you could take into account that are different than the arcade. And there are tons and tons of games now that you can play at a higher resolution thanks to the advancements in computers and emulators. So that's always something to look at. But of course, generally, if the arcade version can get souped up, you'd still want to play that. Can you think of anything else that came to mind when you were thinking about this topic?
Here's the other thing with ports, right? One of the port's main goal is to get out while the property is still hot. So if a game comes out a year later and the game's still making money in the arcade, you've got a winner.
Yeah.
But if you release a game based on an arcade game 4, 5, 6 years down the line,
Yeah.
more than likely that game's already run its course. So it doesn't matter how good your port is. It's done. It's dead on arrival.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's very unique that the games that we chose came out fairly close to the arcade version.
Yeah.
But still managed to
and
be better.
each other. Well,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
I want to mention a couple that I thought about picking. So like, but I couldn't remember if we'd ever played it before. But one that came to mind was like Crazy Taxi. A lot of people don't know Crazy Taxi started out in the arcade. It did.
Oh yeah.
And so you've got more modes in the home version, that made the game more fun. If you just had Crazy Taxi and nothing else, it wouldn't be as good. In the chat, someone Soup mentioned Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast. Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast, great game, and I believe it did have additional content in there. And a lot of the games like Soul Calibur and whatnot would add like those adventure modes. Tons of fighting games add like adventure modes, and stuff like that wouldn't work in the arcade. But I mean, here's the problem with a lot of this stuff. Another thing that comes like Mortal Kombat added like Mortal Kombat chess.
Yeah,
Mortal Kombat driving game.
A ton of unlockables.
But the thing is, I don't care about most of that stuff, and so if I don't care about it, I don't necessarily think that's an upgrade. Where do you fall on that?
Well, no, I disagree. I think it's good to have, as long as you put enough effort into the meat of the game, right?
Yeah.
And that's still a good translation from the whatever you're porting. All the other stuff is gravy on top, and I like gravy. So it's good to have those things to work for, or to unlock or to experience. So I like those type of add-ons.
What do you think about games that augment the original? And by that I mean, for example, you've got a game in the arcade that doesn't have 2 players, for example. Like when you add a 2-player element to, say, Space Invaders. It's a prime example. A lot of games do that sort of thing. Or like Neo Mr. Do had a 2-player element that Mr. Do in the arcade didn't have. Does that count for you? Does that give it any extra points?
Oh, sure. I mean, anytime you can do a little bit more, as long as the original is still in there and still intact, in my opinion, you have to do that, or otherwise, especially looking at it from a 2025 lens, if you don't do that, why even release it?
Adam from Computer Chronicles brings up or Commodore Chronicles brings up an excellent point here. He mentioned some of the 7800 games. I'll even go further along than that, but any of the arcade games that got ported to the home consoles where they couldn't reproduce the graphical fidelity of the arcade, but what they did was give you options. And Space Invaders and Asteroids come to mind, where they would give you all these excellent modes, different modes, different elements, different skill levels. And so those are something also to be considered. That's an excellent point. I didn't think about that when I was choosing this, because Adam mentions Asteroids on 7800, which is great. Not only does it give you extra modes, but it also gives you 2-player competitive and combat. And I thought about that one, but the problem is I already picked that one for the previous show. And so, in fact, this one I sort of kind of picked, but I fudged my way through it. So I think it's going to count.
Well, I want to go ahead, Aaron, and present my argument, because we got a lot to get through on my game.
Fire it up. What'd you pick this week, the Brent?
Now, I was a NES boy. And
I know.
While I do not support Nintendo in its current form.
Really?
Oh, I don't at all. No, I'm very anti-Nintendo at this point. I did love them during the NES days. And what arcade hit is so much better on the home thing that you almost consider it a version 1.5? That's going to be Bionic Commando. Now, Aaron, we have to do a little bit of a history lesson before we get into this.
All right.
So, as you know, games, them's from the Japan place more often than not during this era. Japan was mostly...
That was the wackiest way to phrase that I've ever heard. You were living up to your hillbilly look. Can you say that in English, hillbilly Jim?
That was the port from the normal man speak.
Are you saying that a lot of games back in those days came from Japan?
That's right.
I got it.
So, the original Bionic Commando in the arcade, when it came out, and in Japan, it was its own thing. It was called Top Secret. Okay? When it came over here, everyone thought that it was the sequel to Commando. Same guy in a blue outfit, but guys references Super Joe.
Yeah, he's captured.
In the Commando timeline, Joe is the name of the soldier, Super Joe.
Yeah.
So it's a very weaved past. So we're going to separate this into the Japanese side of history and the American side of history. This is all very important to get to the point of this is a port, not a sequel.
Okay.
We're going to discount everything on the Japan side because the Japan side of this, everything is a separate game. Commando, Bionic Commando, the home ports, everything, it's all, the Super Joe's not a thing. All that is a completely different history.
So the American version, they added some stuff. That's what you're saying.
So, well, they added lore.
Okay, that's what I mean.
Yeah. So let's look at all this from the North American part of view.
Yeah, because I don't know.
And Europe, I assume. So, North America, Commando comes out, does great, right? Do you know what the sequel to Commando is?
I don't.
Mercs.
Okay. I knew Mercs was in there, but I didn't know if it was the direct sequel.
Officially in the timeline from Capcom, Super Joe is the blue soldier in Mercs.
Boy, that's a weak effort. I mean, by the way, we've covered Mercs, I believe, in our multiplayer episode, but that's what they gave him after Commando. Commando was sold a ton.
So, you've got Commando and Mercs. Bionic Commando, not a sequel, not any part of it.
Yeah.
So, in the arcade, they come out Bionic Commando. It's its own game, right?
Yeah.
When it is brought to America and they put it on the NES, that is when all the Super Joe tie-in stuff, it's a sequel stuff came to be.
But this time you're not playing as Super Joe, you're rescuing Super
Correct.
Joe. I got it.
And if you want to look farther down the timeline with the Game Boy release and then the 09 release and then the PC release, all of which are called Bionic Commando, talk about a stupid naming convention.
So how does this relate to the arcade?
I'm
sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's all coming together,
Okay, rich tapestry.
It's
Go
all
ahead.
coming together.
All right.
So you've got an arcade game named Bionic Commando.
Right.
You've got ports called Bionic Commando.
Okay.
And then you have like a 2012, 13 something release that was garbage called Bionic Commando.
I think it's 2008.
Now, the later PC port obviously was a complete new everything. They just kept the same name.
Right.
But the arcade version and the NES version of Bionic Commando has the same characters. It has some of the same stages. It has the same looking bad guys. It has the same elements in the stage, like parachuting, weapons coming down.
Yeah.
And of course, it has the same gameplay elements, which you've got the bionic arm, all that good stuff. None of that changed between the arcade and the NES version. They just took the NES version and expanded it.
Okay.
They did expand it, but it is still a port from the arcade version, and you can take scenes directly from the arcade and compare them directly to the NES version. The same
They don't
bosses,
really look the same, though.
They do. There are parts in each, the arcade and the NES, that are direct ripoffs. Direct tree placements, enemy placements, all that. You don't get that unless you're doing a remake.
Huh, okay.
That's my argument for it.
All right.
Now, let's talk about the game proper. When this came out, in my little NES brain, and I'm sure many, many others, no one said, wow, I remember this from the arcade. Because no one played this in the arcade in North America.
I did.
No, you didn't.
Bionic Commando was in the arcade.
It was in the arcade, but did you actually play it?
Yeah, I sucked at it. I played it once or twice and then gave up.
Exactly.
But I mean, people did like it. It's not like it wasn't like a pariah. People enjoyed it. I just was no good at it.
It was deemed too hard very quickly.
That's true.
Okay?
I deem it that as well.
If you are good at the game in the arcade, you can beat Bionic Commando in about 15 minutes.
If you're how good?
If you're good.
Okay.
If you're good at
what
the
if
game.
you're my level of playing?
Well,
It was inconceivable you could beat it.
so when it came home, like I said, the main gameplay elements were the same. You could not jump, which this was a huge deal
Yeah.
back in 1998. Wait, 1998? That's not right.
1989.
Yeah, I gotta change that date real quick.
But what you're saying is, this was so incredibly impossible.
Well, no one had ever had a platformer, which is essentially what this is, that where you didn't jump. So instead, you had the bionic arm that you could swing, kind of like a Spider-Man-esque. That's what everyone compares it to.
Not
right?
having a jump is disconcerting to me. I agree with that.
It was a bold move, and it was something that was echoed in the arcade version.
Yeah.
But when that came home to the NES, they added role-playing elements. You could level up your character by collecting bullets, which were basically experience points, which would gain you a health bar. In the arcade, it was always one hit, you're dead. You could never actually level up your character. It had a map screen where you could go to like 12 different locations that were actually, places to fight outside of just doing stuff.
Yeah.
Where the arcade had 5 scenes, and that was it. It had more fleshed out bosses. It had a story. The story for North America, Save Super Joe, was a big thing. You fought evil historic villains. I don't want to get YouTube smacked, so we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So it had all of the elements of a perfect game. And this is something that I deeply loved as a kid. I rented it and played the heck out of it. I did beat this in my youth.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Holy smokes!
Yes.
Not cheating or anything?
No.
Did
of
you?
course
Now,
not.
But you'd never heard of or seen the arcade version.
And when I was a kid, no.
Do you remember when you first saw it? I bet you were surprised and pleased.
I was confused.
Yeah.
Was what I was. Bionic Commando is also the first game that I ever saw swear. When you kill Adolf, he says "damn," which was amazing to me. This was
he would.
And back in the day, I was young enough that I thought I was going to get in trouble because the text on my screen said a bad word.
How the times have changed.
Yeah. Also, this has one of the most horrific deaths of all time in it when Adolf's head blows up.
Yeah.
It is gruesome, especially for a Nintendo game. You don't get any of that in the arcade. The arcade story is very generic. It's very, here's the bad guys, go kill them. This also added in city zones where you just walk around and get information. It added vertical shooting zones. Think like Commando or Akari Warriors, where you're going vertical up the screen.
Yeah.
That you can collect power-ups to give you continues. It was all deeply elemented and rooted in. The arcade version of it was none of that. It had, yes, I swing on my arm. Yes, I shoot my gun.
That's what it had. Huh?
Yes, I can collect power-ups that fall from the sky. Get from point A to point B. 5 stages, you're done. So, in my opinion, this is, without a doubt, the best port. If you consider it a port, you can argue with me in the comments. I will reply to whoever says anything to it. This is the best port of all time.
Holy
Bam!
moly. That's what you're putting out there.
Yes.
Right? Well, listen. I'm not going to lie to you.
All right.
I'm not going to lie to the people. People know.
Oh, but you'll lie to me, but you'll just slide
I
it.
will lie to you, but not to
Fair enough.
people. So I did play this when it came out in the arcade. This is one of Capcom's. It's just one of their arcade chipsets that they reused. I don't remember if this was on. Gosh, I can't remember. It was way back.
Yeah.
This is way back. Boy, I was no good at this in the arcade.
No, it was horrible. It was so hard.
It's not only hard,
and cheap.
and well, it is. It's not very fun for me, and as a Capcom game, it's just one of those that I didn't get along with. I remembered this game when I started playing it from when you used to rent it or whatever back in the day. Well, guess what? I suck at this game just as bad as the arcade. You left out some things about the game, so I'm going to get into it.
All right.
It's triple dog tough.
It is difficult.
If you're used to jumping like I am, because I play a lot of jumping around stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're out there shooting hoops all the time.
And so, yeah, that's right.
You got the ups.
And so when you're used to getting around like that in real life, it translates into game. That's why I like to play like Donkey Kong and stuff. This game,
you also often have to save your girlfriend from giant gorillas.
Or sometimes I just feed her to him. But the thing about a game like this is you really have to completely change the way you think. You've got to rewire your brain to shoot out the little extender arm. It's a lot. It reminded me of a certain amount of James Pod 2. That's another game where you have to kind of change the way you think because it extends out. You know, it's not the same, but it's similar. I was no good at this game. I could not get anywhere. You insta die a lot.
Yeah, until you level
up. This
game
is, you're like the arcade one had cheap deaths. This one has cheap deaths to beat the band. Guys, if you touch guys, you fall off the side of the world. Or they'll shoot you. Sometimes they come from off screen. Sometimes you fall down onto the screen where they're at without knowing they're there.
Well, if you fall directly on their head, you'll usually bounce.
Yeah, but you usually bounce to your death. I died over and over and over and over and over. I tried like gangbusters. I mean, I played this game more than I played my game this week, just so I could intelligently talk about it. But I can't. I can't intelligently talk about it. I watched some videos. I will say the role-playing elements in this are sort of Metal Gear-y.
Yeah.
You know, you go into, you get to these different areas where there's a place you can go in. They've got a radio. And I will say one of the funny things you can do is it's like listen in on the enemy.
Yeah, wiretap.
And the enemies say some wacky stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And then I'm always thinking to myself, you've got all these radios. Who put these here? And I guess from what I can tell, as you get further into the game, fewer and fewer of your soldiers have been in those places.
Yes.
You know, so there were a few things I didn't get far enough to understand, so I'm going to ask you about them.
Sure.
There's an overworld map screen at the beginning, and you can either go to that square, or you can sort of like disperse your troops. Or
No. How
does that work?
You are in the helicopter.
Right.
And you either descend, which means you go into the area, or you transport, which means you are going to a different hot spot, a different part of the world.
It's funny, I never thought to go further in. How far can you go without dropping down?
Well, technically you can go as far as you want, but you will need elements that you earn other places. For example, at one of the bases you pick up flares.
Yeah.
And
woo!
that will light up a dark zone so you can traverse the area.
Yes, I remember that.
You have to pick up a bazooka so that you can destroy the defenses in some zones to move forward. So all the zones have a purpose.
Did this predate Metal Gear, the original Metal Gear? I don't think it did.
I don't think so.
I think Metal Gear came out on the MSX pretty early. But they do share, I mean, the gameplay is not similar, but they share some other similarities. You know, even graphically, they sort of reminded me of each other in a weird way.
Yeah, Metal Gear did come out first.
But, I mean, so I remember, the Nintendo did this to games like this, the arcade. They would strap on, they would change the game entirely from the arcade version. And this is one example, one of the top examples of them doing that. So, but, I mean, if the arcade game wasn't that great, I guess it's okay, you know? So,
we are still wrong with the release date. I just looked it up again. It's 1988.
There you go.
God, Ned.
But for me, I had trouble getting around the level. I had all kinds of trouble. It's not like, it's sort of like Spider-Man in a way, but it's not. Spider-Man, of course, more modern versions of Spider-Man, they made it a lot easier to get around. This one, you have to do all the Spider-Man swinging on your own.
Yes.
You've got to time everything.
Yes.
There are some areas that you can go straight up and some you can't. Sometimes you have to be at the ledge to climb over the ledge. A lot of it just takes a lot of, trial and error. The problem is the game is so difficult, unless you just spend a little while screwing around, I hoped I would get better at it, but I didn't. You know,
you can. This is one of the games, and another reason why I love it is this is a game, unlike the arcade, where it actually has programmed cheat deaths into it, right?
Well, I mean that's not good, is it?
No, that's what the arcade has.
Oh.
This game doesn't really do that. Once you get skilled enough, and you will improve, you will get better weapons. So not only do you improve from a personal skill point, you improve your gear and your weapons. That makes things easier. You gain hit points, which makes things easier. You just have to work with it. I love games like that. I love playing the game and feel like I'm actually improving, which this game has a ton of if you're willing to put in the work to get past being
Well,
really
I did not
crappy.
get that feeling. I get the feeling that I sucked. Since you played this to completion back when you were a kid,
Yeah.
how far did you manage to get this week? Did you feel like you were getting it back?
Well, thing one, I was playing on a keyboard. I played on a keyboard all the time I played that. Which
Oh God,
is-
why did you do that?
it was unfortunately what I had available. And I also was trying not to cheese it. I was trying not to farm for experience so I had a little extra health.
Because there's no timer.
No, not that when some levels are, but not most of them. If you are going to pick this up and play it, you want to find a place where you can kill an enemy or a few enemies over and over and get at least 3 health points.
Mm-hmm.
They're incredibly important, and
Yeah, no kidding.
and it will help you enjoy the game so much more. Thing number 2, you will want to do the vertical shooter levels where you kill the shielded men and pick up their emblem, because that will give you a continue.
What did you think about
That's
those
very-
levels? They threw them in.
A perfect addition.
So you liked them?
Yes, I think they're a perfect breakup of how the game plays otherwise. I think being able to take your bionic arm and swing it around and deflect bullets is awesome. They're easy, they're quick. 30 seconds in and out, you can beat them, no problem. They allow you to pick something that up the continues that are vital to when you're just learning the games. Perfect. If you don't want to do them, you can usually avoid them, because the way you get to them is your helicopter runs into a truck on the overworld map. And to avoid it, just don't run into any trucks. And you can do it if you're clever about it. But I recommend doing it. They're easy, they're quick, and you can continue. I cannot say enough good things about this game. I love it that much.
I think it's okay. See, these NES games, and by the way, I would put this in that lineup of NES games that get held up, and especially the non-Nintendo-ish
Yeah,
one.
this is Capcom.
This is one that gets held up slightly lower than the stuff that is considered top shelf on the NES, but it's still up there. And I think the only reason
Yes.
it's held a little bit lower is because it's not from Nintendo, not a
Yes.
first-party title. And it's funny, they didn't really capitalize on this game all that much afterwards, like they did on so many of the other titles.
Well,
like your Metroids and whatnot.
They let this IP set for far too long, and when they brought it back, they pooed all over it. Not good. Now, the big question, though, Aaron,
Yeah.
is, do you like the port more than the arcade?
Yes, I'll tell you why. It doesn't look as good. It doesn't control as well for my
No,
taste.
the control is way better.
But I mean, when I said that, it's like having a proper joystick. But it's the arcade panel. I'm padding that in. So here's the thing, though. I stink at both of them.
Yes.
But this is one of those NES games that made me not care about the NES. It's not the game's fault. It's just that this is a generational thing.
Okay.
I didn't like these sorts of games. You know how when we do a ZX,
I mean, fun ones.
if we did a ZX Spectrum game,
Yeah.
I don't know, Trapdoor or something. It's that long kind of nutty, or one of those games where you have to go around and pick stuff up and move it, and combine stuff. We're like, what is this? But that was for that generation of people that were into that sort of gameplay. And I think this is sort of like the NES is like that era here. Some people are into these games. They took an arcade game. They sort of made it into a separate game. They sort of take some elements from the game. They put a bunch of kind of cheesy dialogue in it and made a role-playing game. But and people, and it's hard. It's that NES hard that
Yep.
people liked at the time. So for those people, this game would be popular. You know, some of those people have to be in our Discord, the BRENT, and we did get a review on this one from our good buddy Pajako, who chimes in. I only really played the Amiga version of this, which is pretty good. I don't think they're very similar. But the arcade core on the Mister and the judicious use of continues, I blitzed through the arcade to completion. Sure, it's a cheap quarter muncher in places, but it's fun, and it really had an air of ghosts and goblins in places. But we aren't here to review that. We are here to answer the question, is the NES port better than the arcade? And for me, the short answer is no. Don't pick up the chair just yet. My reasons is that the NES version is quite far removed from the arcade original in terms of gameplay, and I'm not entirely sure this is Bionic Commando anymore. We've added an adventure exploration element and a loadout system, plus they even chuck in some top-down classic Commando action too. And even with the Bionic mechanic arm, the game plays differently and feels a lot more serious than the arcade original. Ultimately, Bionic Commando on the NES is a solid game, but just too different in my eyes to be considered a port. It probably could have done all right as a game on its own right, but having an existing name would certainly help. P.S. Check out the Game Boy version. It's fairly similar to the NES, but with some enhancements like health points, so it's a little bit less harsh. Although this does, in fact, have health points. I'm assuming he's never got far enough.
Play it again, Bajako.
Well, I mean,
Play it
hold on a
again.
second. Pachaka raises a valid point here, the Brent. And the valid point is, this is a separate game. And I know
It
you
is
said...
not. It
I
is
know-
a port.
No, it's
It's
not
an
a port.
expanded on port.
It's not... No, it doesn't play or feel like the arcade game in any way.
It absolutely does.
I've played them
Just
both.
because it has added elements, it's still the same
Well,
gameplay.
I mean, listen. When you picked it, I didn't poo-poo it, but I can see where a sucker might poo-poo it. That's all I'm saying. You know, it's not everyone's cup of tea, and it's not for everyone. So let's just go there. I'm assuming that this. Did you have to check to see what this was going for these days on the eBay? Because some of these old NES cartridges have gotten up there in price, and I assume, you know, the cartridges are having this weird resurgence. Have you noticed this? And so, like now, they're the hot ticket. Some of the stuff I used to be able to get at the surplus store or the Goodwill or the pawn shop, especially if it's boxed. People love that stuff. But it's been so long since I saw NES cartridges at Goodwill, for example.
Yeah.
Now when I go to game stores, they're all over the place. I see tons of them there.
Well, I can answer that question for you, Aaron.
All right.
First of all, there's a bajillion of these things.
Well, I mean, I knew they sold a zillion of them.
Yes.
So.
And they are selling for, now this is unboxed, this is just the cart.
Yeah.
You can pick them up for $10 to $12 all day long.
That's unboxed.
Unboxed. If you are looking for the whole deal, the full package, depending on quality, of course, that's what always those things come down to. And if you have all the feelies, you're looking between $60 and $150.
So that's not that bad. I mean, all things, I don't know, maybe that is bad. NES games, they were giving these things away for the longest time because they printed out so many. So it is kind of crazy to think that that's going for that much money. So I'd be interested if you're listening to this at home or watch on YouTube. Chime in. Do you think this counts as a port being better than the original? Because that's a good point Pachaka brought up, and I should have brought it up because I'm such a hateful guy. I don't like to torture you, but it didn't occur to me. But he's not wrong.
Also, do you think that Battle Chess is a funny game?
No, that's the answer is no. Let's move away from the ridiculous and to the awesome. So
You're gonna let me do the review again?
no.
Oh,
Now, this is a game, I have trumpeted this game for many years now, and it's way outside my usual fare, as you know.
yes.
We did a cover, or we did an Atari ST show, or it may have been on this show, but we did a game called Alcon for the Atari ST that was based on a arcade game that in some places in America is known as Alcon. Every once in the world is known as Slap Fight by a game by Toplan, the very famous shoot 'em up maker. This game was the dirt worst on the ST, and so I had been on it for years. My goal was to find a port of this game that was even somewhere similar, and I'll explain why these other ones suck. But everything I tried, the C64, the Atari ST, the CPC, they weren't the worst. They were the dirt
Some
worst.
of them were the dirt worst.
And because they didn't even come close to trying to grasp the concepts of the game. They just sort of take some elements from the game, the pictures, maybe some of the stuff on the scrolling, and just stuck it into a thing that scrolled. And when you do that, you don't have the game. Anything can do that. I go convince your construction set do that. And so these games were all horrible. They were garbage.
So Aaron, what game did you bring?
So this week, I'm loading up Slap Fight MD. Call the doctor. Slap Fight is here. Now, I want to go on record once again
Okay.
and say that calling this game Slap Fight is the dumbest, stupidest, most ignorant name change of all time.
Yes.
Alcon is totally fine. It even stands for something. Slap Fight stands for nothing. Like, I don't know what they were thinking when they named it Slap Fight. I don't know if it's a translation thing. I don't know what happened. But Slap Fight is total trash.
The name.
Right, the name. So, just a little bit on the original game, Slap Fight in the arcade. Now, so Slap Fight was a game. It came out, I believe it was, in Japan it came out in 86, and then later on it came out in North America in 88, okay? In America, again, it was called Alcon. Alcon didn't mean anything then, at least they didn't tell anybody it meant anything. But later on, they revealed, and I believe it was in the documentation for the C64 version, that Alcon stood for the Allied League of Cosmic Nations. See, that's okay. But it's better than Slap Fight. What's that stand for? That stands for two small girls hitting each other in a schoolyard. Or maybe boys. Either way. This game has a backstory, if you can believe it. It takes place in the year 2059. We're getting there. Man, we got a long way to go to get to this area. In another galaxy, of course. Mankind has colonized an alien planet called Theon after evacuating a previously colonized planet, Aurak. 5 years ago, the colony on Aurak was attacked by aliens, and the war was so intense, the colonists were forced to leave. However, Theon is now under attack by the same alien fleet. They followed him. Who'd have thunk it?
They Borged them.
You know, and so this time the humans are ready. This is all sucker play. All right? The player assumes the role of the Allied League of Cosmic Nations fighter pilot in the SW-475 starfighter to stop the invaders from taking over Theon. This does bring up a few questions. If the invaders are taking over your planet, why are you a planet that's going? Why are you in a ship that's going over a hostile planet?
Well, my question is, is sending one guy in one plane really considered ready?
I don't listen.
That's like the owner of the Cowboys, man. He's all in.
Oh, would you stop with that? Listen, they also, to be fair, the Theans have a better plan than the owner of the Cowboys. Again, we mentioned this game came from Toplan. You may have heard of them. They did a few things, like Tiger Heli was one of theirs, Flying Shark, Twin Cobra, Truxton, Hellfire, Zero Wing, Snow Bros. You heard any of these, Brent? I bet you have.
Not a single one.
Yeah, you have. So they did a ton. They did a ton of stuff here. Batsugan, that's another one that's real popular. These guys have a rep for being good at this sort of game, and so Slap Fight was another way. Just a brief. I'm sure I've mentioned this story, but I'll go into it one more time. I was introduced to this game as Alcon at the movie theater by my buddy the Chud. He's like, listen, you want to go see the movies? I'm like, sure, but I don't got any money. He goes, I'll take care of that. So the movie theater had a deal going that if you get this certain score, they give you a free movie ticket. And so this game has a secret that no man should know, but I'm going to reveal it now. In the original Alcon, don't shoot. Go as far as you can without hitting the fire button one time. If you do, if you get far enough, which it doesn't take very far to get the mega ship, but when you come back, you'll have the ultra ship of doom.
Yes.
But if you get far enough, you'll have the ultra ship of doom, and you'll skip the entire first section of the game and get tons of points. So he would beat the score that you needed for the movie ticket in like 2 seconds.
Yes.
In fact, he would crush it. And then he would go get the movie person, we'd get our ticket. They kept upping the score week after week, but they never upped it high enough to where he could instantly beat it. It was killing them. And ultimately, they ended the program after me and the Chud had gotten multiple tickets. And I watched him play this so much that first of all, I fell in love with the game because free movie tickets. But also, I thought, man, this it's a pretty deep game.
Yeah.
So once you get into the actual gameplay of it, you realize it goes on forever and is awesome. The game, it's a sort of a combination of games that came before it. It's a vertical shooter. You start with a single ship, and then at the bottom of the screen, the arcade version, you'll see some squares that are filled in, and they'll say speed, shot, side, wing, bomb, laser, and then shield.
Yeah.
And so as you go through the game, when you blow stuff up, certain things will have a star under it. And when you get a star, you will move one slot up one slot across on the chart. And then when you hit the select button, whatever the highlighted square is, you get that. So, and you can get up to 5 and everything. So, like, for example, if you get 5 speed, you're whipping around the map like a crazy man.
Yep.
If you get 5 wing, your ship's as wide as the screen. It's shooting missiles across everywhere, you know. It's an awesome game, and it lets you pick the strategy you want to take. Even you would vary it up in certain areas. Now, I was never good enough to get super far in the game, but I watched him get pretty far. And eventually, I could get to the point where I could do okay.
Yeah.
So, again, this was, by the way, this dates me, as this came out in '86. So when I was playing this game, this thing would have been out about, 5 years. It's about 91 when we were playing it. So, anyway, I was on a quest. And my quest led me to the Sega Megadrive / Genesis. God bless that machine, that beautiful machine. And Sega, of course, if you're not familiar with the Megadrive / Genesis, of course, a great console that competed with the Super Nintendo, and at one point was doing quite well until Sega auxiliary ported themselves into death, later on. Until
they turned their system into Lego.
Right. So if you fast forward to 1993, so this was late in the game for the Sega Genesis, I will tell you that Slap Fight MD, and I want to make sure you realize this, you have to pick up Slap Fight MD Mega Drive, okay? This was a Japanese, and it's a Japanese exclusive, although apparently some of them snuck into Korea. And from what I read, they ever made 5,000 of these cartridges. I've not seen one come up on eBay, and so I don't know what they're worth, but I'd say they're worth a considerable fee.
Probably.
And what this is, because obviously Slap Fight was popular in Japan, the sheer fact that Topa made it probably would get you a port, because they were involved.
Yeah.
And it is a great game. It's not just like they put their name on it. It's
good. It's good.
And so Slap Fight came out for the Mega Drive. Now, what makes this better than the arcade? Well, I'll tell you, first of all, it's the only one of the ports to any home machine that actually knows how Alcon works.
Yes.
In Alcon, the things that shoot you won't shoot you if you're in their proximity. They don't shoot.
Yep.
If you're right over top of them, they won't shoot. This is a key element to the game.
Absolutely.
That no other home port even regarded in any way. Secondly, Slap Fight is a game that is a vertical game. And so cunningly, what the people in the Master System or the Mega Drive did is they put all the selection boxes and your score and whatnot to the right of the screen to give you a more vertical feel. Now, I went on YouTube and found some gameplay of Alcon, and I put it beside Slap Fight MD, as they scrolled up. I wanted to see how the screen size differences was. The screen on Slapfight MD is a little bit wider and a little bit not as tall.
Yeah, shorter.
But it's not, it's a very, very minuscule difference.
Yeah, moving this stuff to the side made a tremendous difference.
And the funny thing is, and I didn't realize this would happen, with the exception of the boss fights, because the boss fights, you just are there until you either run out of time, kill the boss, or get killed. The game runs at a steady scroll. You can't control the scroll.
Yeah.
And when I lined these two games up side by side, they stayed almost perfectly synced. I even got to a point where I counted the zigzags to see how many in the arcade versus how many were at the home. Identical. For almost every target in the arcade is in the home system.
Yeah.
I mean, perfectly.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a feat because so many other systems did it so poorly.
Right. So someone, for the 5,000 of these they made, someone took a lot of care in doing this. But that's not all. So what do you get on top of that? You also get different difficulties that you can pick. You also get you could go up to 5 ships instead of 3, which in the arcade I believe that's a dip switch setting. I think what they did was translate the dip switch settings to the option screen. But what they also did was they added in the ability to have a separate soundtrack on the original game. The original game has a redone soundtrack. It's for the Genesis, and it's great. So you can play with the original soundtrack, or you can play with the Genesis soundtrack, which is fine. Now, that right there is pretty good.
Yeah,
okay?
That's a good port.
That should be enough right there. If they just did a top shelf port, and trust me, I know how it feels. I've played this game a million times. It feels dead on.
Yeah, and I will agree. This is a good port, but I still have to ask the question, Aaron.
Yeah.
Why would I play this over the original?
Well, I could say because of the remix soundtrack.
That's not good enough.
But how about this? This game adds an entirely different game to the game. Slapfight MD has a secondary mode in the option screen that's called Special. Now, Brent didn't know about this till I told him, and I noticed that Pajako didn't know about it either until he figured it out. I wonder how many people load up Slapfight MD and never actually go to the option screen and pick this. Because when you pick it, it loads up a completely different game, Slapfight MD. Slapfight MD is sort of an extension of Slapfight. It's got its own soundtrack, which you can switch between original and glossy. You can determine the tempo, the speed of the sound. You can pick the difficulty level. You start with a different set of weapons and a different ship. You also start with the ability to have bombs. Both games give you the ability to have rapid fire. And the Megadrive special version of this ups the ante on graphics, on chaos, on pandemonium. I would say it's more difficult. They do give you a stronger ship to start off with and a mega bomb in this version. Like a special mega bomb you can blow up.
Yep.
I was reading, now I didn't get this far, but later on in the game you can come across a drone, and the drone goes beside your ship and fires with you. And if you've got
an option for most games.
Well, hold on. But if you've got someone sitting there and you hook up a separate controller, they can control the drone.
That's pretty cool.
Okay?
That's pretty cool.
So, in total, I believe this has, if you roll all the levels together, I believe you get up into the areas of around, let's see, the original game has 80 areas, and the special game adds another 83 areas. All right? The fellow that had to come and do the music is highly regarded, top shelf guy. They did not do a half job on this game, and I think for anyone who's a fan, first of all, if you're a fan of Slapfight or Alcon, this is a no-brainer, okay? Yeah. By the way, I found an English translation of this. You don't need it, but if you want it, it's out there. There's not a whole lot of Japanese in it. That's going to mess you up. But it's there. And then also it augmented some stuff. It adds different difficulty levels and stuff. But I think anyone who's a fan of Alcon or Slapfight in the arcade, this is a must purchase. And if you've beaten Slapfight or you've gotten real far in it and you want a new challenge, This takes the same elements that I mean, this when I say it's a special rip of the game, I mean it's all new levels, but they keep the same gameplay elements.
Yes.
So you're not playing like a whole different game. It's Alcon with a whole bunch of new levels and new surprises. Brent, what did you think?
Yeah, and that's really what makes this special. It being a good port is good, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't say why just play in 2025. I'm just going to go play the arcade version,
Yeah.
right? And the arcade version does have its benefits over the original for the Mega Drive.
Yeah.
Just a little bit better graphic clarity. I think it feels a little bit smoother, but that's probably just Brent brain, not actually something that's going on in the game. But having the completely separate new, I mean, it's basically like the equivalent of a New Game Plus in 1986.
You were blown away about that. You were stunned by that, weren't you?
It's something that, first of all, it needs to be on the title screen.
Yes.
2 title screens, and you choose between.
Yes.
You have to actually go into the options to turn on the special mode.
Yeah. It just switches you to a whole different mode. Everything changes in special mode.
And it is a nice, refreshing take on the same mechanics.
Yeah.
Which it's fun. It's fun.
And we should mention, like I said, that you could turn on and off auto fire. You could also reconfigure your controls.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I'm saying it's the little things that they do. Really, the worst, if I could pick one flaw in this game, it's the menus. That would
Yes.
They really should have done something to make those menus stand out more, so you would know what you're getting. Now, assumably, if you weren't, say, pirating this game, you'd probably know it had other gameplay. But still, it's something in 2025 you may not know.
Yes, agreed. I agree 100%.
So you give this the Brent thumbs up.
Yeah, and this makes the game, if I'm playing Alcon, right? Slap Fight, and I just want the original arcade experience, I'm probably still going to play the arcade version. But if I want a fresh coat of paint on my Alcon experience, bam, I've got it right here.
Yeah, and I've got of course, I'm still good friends with the Chud. I've never shown him out the special version. I know. I suspect that he will have a conniption fit when he sees it. He will be on board. We did get one look at this game again from Pajako. He writes, I hadn't really played Slap Fight before, and I like a good shoot 'em up. This is what seems to be a mix of Xevious and Gradius. Both games I like, but wow, this game is punishment from the get-go. I was sitting on a couch 6 feet away from the TV, and it almost made it impossible to see the bullets. So I died a lot, frustratingly so. And Slap Fight is a game where collecting stars for a good weapon is a must.
Yes.
And the instant you die, you're done for. Now, that is a valid point, but that's a carryover from the arcade.
And
this is a punishing game that you really do. It helps immensely to get that mega ship to start off.
well, also, if you add wings will allow you to take an extra hit.
Yeah, exactly.
So the game, I think it recognizes that it's hard.
Yeah.
And has ways to mitigate it. That doesn't make the game easy by any stretch.
Yeah.
But it gives you a fighting chance.
And I will say, one of the additions...
A slap fighting chance.
One of the additions in the new game is occasionally when you get your wing shot, they'll explode and kill a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So at least you get some action out of it. Anyway, Pajako continues. However, enough complaining. Is Slap Fight MD better than the original? The game is designed for a vertical monitor, and when brought to horizontal displays, you get slightly less playfield, and possibly it makes it a harder game. So he phrases that in a question. We have auto fire, better visuals, improved audio. We do have continues, which is a big plus. That's true. That did not happen in the arcade. And of course, the enhanced special mode game, which keeps a lot of the same gameplay and feels at a level, even though it's quite different looking. It also addresses the issue of not being able to see the bullets. But that didn't help, though, as I still got my butt kicked into oblivion. But me sucking at a game doesn't make it bad. So, yeah, this is a better game than the original, with lots of good enhancements, while still feeling and playing like the original arcade game. If you like the original, this one is a must to check out. And
must.
I agree with that. Now, which of these games do you think improved more on the original?
Mine.
I would say
by a tremendous
I would
amount.
say mine, because yours isn't anything like the original.
No,
and so there's The truth hurts, the Brent. The truth hurts. But that's the way I would go. So I will say there are two things before we get to the wheel. Number one,
Who says we're spinning a wheel, Aaron?
play Alcon / slap fight, and please don't call it slap fight. And number two, I promise this is the last show that I will bring up Alcon or slap fight. They're off the table going forward. I've done everything I can to pitch these games. Brent, let's do it.
All right, Aaron, what did you add to the wheel?
This week we added vertical shooters, our history piece, and in our new piece, games they said were impossible.
Ooh.
You know how they are. They'll hose you.
Firing those they.
Fired up. Very good. I love the background there. We're in ancient Rome. And the winner is games that shouldn't have been ported.
Are you serious?
Games that shouldn't have been ported. This dovetails nicely.
Are you serious?
Games that shouldn't have been ported. This is from our old buddy, Dean Bent, the Benster. He got another one in. He got one in last time, too.
Man, we talk about bookends.
Yeah, no kidding. So these are games they never should have tried to port. Now, that's funny,
crazy.
but it also works out great. That's a nice 1-2 punch for what we've done this week. That should be good. I'm looking forward to that one. Now, let's talk about our schedule as we move forward on the retro rotation. The next ARG, well, we're going to play games that should have been ported, will be September 21st. September 21st. Next week, the rotation spins again. And what a spin it takes. Because next week on Atari Unlimited, we'll be looking at selection on the Atari Jaguar. The much maligned pussycat of a console. We're going to get into, I think we talked about the Jag in brief a while back. We're going to try to get into a little nuts and bolts action here because I've got some hot takes I've been saving for this Jaguar episode. I do have a Jaguar. In fact, I will bring one out here next week.
Ooh.
We'll have it sitting right here for you to peruse, including joysticks, which we'll discuss.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we're going to discuss it all on Atari Unlimited. That should be a lot of fun, and that will be a week from the recording of this, which will be September 7th.
Well, it'll be on
Actually,
Sunday.
On Sunday, so it'll be 5 days from recording of this. We'll be recording it on September 7th. That should be a lot of fun. You've never owned a Jaguar, I'm guessing.
No.
Have you ever actually played with one? Did you ever play with the one I got? I don't think you ever did.
I've rode in one once.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think's better, the car or the game console?
I will save that opinion until next week.
Right now.
Or next month.
Well done. Well done.
Next week.
Keep going, Brent.
5 day. 5 day.
You're dumb. When you got that much hair, there's a lot of blood that gets taken away from the actual thought pattern.
I don't think my hair has much blood in it, Aaron.
That's your opinion. We're going to find out after the show when I conquer the frying pan. I think that's all we've got on ARG Presents. So anything you want to leave the people with before we take to the house? Nope. Fair enough. We want to thank everybody who supports us on Discord, on Twitch, on Patreon, all of our buddies out there.
Join us.
Keep the wheel spinning. We appreciate you.
Send us some love on patreon.com/theretrorotation.
Also, I never plugged this, but ARG Presents at mail.com, MAIL, for wheel suggestions on hairstylings, for example. Any suggestions you got, comments, questions, or jabs, we'll take them. ARG Presents at mail.com. That's all we got, everybody. We'll see you next week for Atari Unlimited, the Jaguar. And until then, spin your own wheel and make your own deal.
We got it going. With a spin of the wheel, we'll uncover our fate and stream it to you all in one take. We tend to be loud and we fight quite a bit, but it's an unscripted show, so you get what you get. If we stopped it right now and we just walked